What is up, DTube Steem blockchain? So today I want to do a topic video about the topic of is marriage a business transaction? Because LCKJ made a video on this on I think either 3Speak or on DTube. So is marriage a business transaction? I think this is a fascinating topic. Well, if you look at it, in some ways it is. Well, humans have different needs, emotional needs, psychological needs, money needs. Well, humans have different needs, and in many ways, if humans come together, they have sort of realized, well, we can sort of create something way better than if we just did things alone. Now, some humans, they thrive better by being alone and make their own sort of moves. This is the thing about a human being. Like, a human being is a complete life. So a human being is a complete life. So they can do all stuff themselves, but also they can also work with other people, and they probably can get to something way quicker. So in a way, it is kind of like a transaction. You give me this, I give you that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's like it's good. Like, people should come together if it benefits. Like, if it's if it benefits both sides, it's a good deal, right? So yes, in a way, we can say it kind of is like a transaction to sort of make life better. Now, many times it goes into more chaos, but that's another thing. That's another topic. So, and if we look at transactions in the universe, like almost anything is a transaction. If I'm breathing, I'm transacting with the universe. If I'm eating, I'm creating my body, or my body's a gathering, and it's like creates it. It's kind of cool. So yeah, in some ways it is kind of like a business transaction. But well, a marriage can go in many ways. It can become super beautiful, two lives weave together, and some people are doing that amazing. Other times it goes into chaos, really chaos, because what we're dealing with is we're dealing with the memory and trying to fuse memories together and people's own sort of memory and their own karma, their own actions. There's a lot of stuff going on here, right? So trying to fuse memory together, it probably requires a lot of mastery, and because humans are the most like sophisticated gadget on the planet, but it also requires people to pay attention a lot to sort of the gadget that they have. And a lot of people use horrible compulsive in their sort of behavior, so anything they touch goes into craziness. But then there's some that are doing it amazing, like they're really handling it amazing. And another aspect of this, which I find pretty interesting, is, well, there is a sort of mystery about life, about humans, and what it is people really doing here. So it's like you can look at everything in so many different ways, and that's something that sort of annoys me with maybe like when people like with logic. I see the mystery, and I can see the beauty in sort of making something come together, and then how other people wanna like oversimplify it or something like that. So, it's very, very interesting. It's also very interesting. I've been considering this topic about marriage, like how it like connects to a world of this, and it sort of seems as, in many ways, this blockchain stuff works a little bit like marriage, where it's like, well, people coming together and they're actually benefiting both from both sides, and they have a more serious stance where they're actually working. While on the other social media platforms, people just derping, and it's super silly. And it's like, and I wonder on these older platforms, it's like, are people ever gonna become adults? And it's like, can you have a world where everyone is like always silly? Can they never be serious? Can they never like try to think about other people? So it's very interesting how it sort of ties together with like blockchain stuff, because blockchain stuff, it's also like marriage in many ways. Like you really are fusing memory together in many ways, where you get upvotes, and then you sort of, that memory gets attached to you, and it really is kind of interesting to sort of look at it. And when you're dealing with memory, you really see that there's a lot of work, there's a lot of inner work, there's a lot of outer work to be done, there's a lot of work thinking about other people, and there's a lot of misunderstandings that happens, okay? And you see that a lot in the world. But yeah, it's like blockchain is like marriage. You look at the blocks, and it's like they get fused together, and it creates order, it creates a lot of orders, and it's not like you can go back in time. It's really interesting because in a real marriage, you can sort of end it, people ending it all the time, while a blockchain is more like, it's like real marriage. It's like you fuse it together, and now you can't get out. so so that's kind of fun to talk about a little bit. So it's also really interesting. I consider like the idea of marriage is really interesting, because I sort of, I do wonder like uh, a lot, like because if you look at the world, and it's like a lot of people partying now, like every week and so on, and you realize like, I mean, I just consider like this doesn't look like a good long-term strategy, especially not like for the future, like 2030, 2040, 2050. It seems as eventually people should try to become a little bit more adult-like, a little bit more serious, and sort of try to think a little bit more long-term on things. It seems like that's, eventually you need to find some sort of way to sort of make people again maybe come together in a more serious way. Like, people are coming together in the world, they are, but the question is, are they just like, are they just coming together and then just leaving and never like building something beautiful? It's like, it's something that's kind of fun to talk about, fun to consider a little bit. So yeah, business transaction for sure. It kind of is. It can be something deeper, of course. And it probably is many times. Something way deeper. But I try to really like look at the realness of life, and it has a mix. It really has a mix, and a lot of people tend to get triggered if you just have your own sort of perspective on things, uh, which is like, I think it's sad. I think there's a lot of beauty in sort of seeing that marriages, they can be beautiful. Marriages, they can be ugly, and yeah, and it doesn't just have to be marriage. Like, regular people, they sort of see, they try to sort of come together, even if they just try to be friends with other people. They sort of can see a lot of struggles with that. A lot of struggles, because you're dealing with memory again, and if people don't have a great understanding of what a human being is, if they don't understand how memory works, and how logic is just limited data, it's not actually the human being, a lot of confusion can happen, and that's a little bit sad. That's why I like video, because I think the video sort of shows a little bit more that there's more to a human being than just the words. Because everyone, like anything that's written on the internet, people don't really know, people can't see the human being, they don't know where they're coming from. Like, I'm coming from forest right now. Yeah, I'm coming from forest. It helps, like, when you see the perception of the person talking the words, I think it helps. And yeah, so people eventually are gonna fuse together in some way, because most of life is memory. most of life is memory. Most of life is just well, memory is also culture in many ways. Like people remember stuff and they do the same thing again. So it can be both. It can be both bondage that is like binds people together, and it creates a level of comfort, a level of safety. I love my memory. People love their memory. People love their votes. At the same time, it can sort of it can bind a human, so they can't really get out of it. So business transactions, everything is becoming about transactions these days, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, marriage is something that is fun to look at. Like internet, how people should sort of use it and so on is still new. So our generation are probably very like confused exactly how to use this. In the future, they're probably gonna look at us as a joke because oh, they didn't know they should like actually work together and actually become adults. They just use it for like oh silliness. Oh, that's kind of strange. I mean, we are just one of the first generations to be like really like start to become educated. Maybe 10 generations forward in the future, that's probably when they sort of figure this stuff out. Now we're just, oh, I'm just a human being. I'm just trying to figure stuff out. And I mean, it's kind of fun to see that also, like people's process of trying to understand things. But yeah, it's a fun topic, the marriage topic. And it seems like people eventually should try to sort of come together in some way and try to be more adult like and try to be a little bit more responsible, just a tiny bit. And I think that's going to be really great. Yeah, have a great day, DTube and Steem blockchain.